Okay, guys. Thank y'all for coming out. Really appreciate y'all being here. My name is Ryan Castelaz. This is Zoe and Katie. Zoe is the general manager over at The Counter, and Katie is our event coordinator for The Counter and Discourse. We're super happy to be here today and present a little bit about what is one of the most exciting segments in food and drink right now for both economic and personal reasons. So we started a non-alcoholic cocktail bar here in Milwaukee back in February called The Counter. We have 4 seats at our little counter in a food hall where we offer the Midwest's only non-alcoholic cocktail tasting menu, as well as having a large hall that we offer a la carte service 7 days a week, 3 to 9. It's been an incredible journey, and I'm excited to share a little bit about the non-alcoholic space with y'all, both from a business perspective and from a kind of personal perspective. So the first thing I'm sure everybody is a little bit thinking about is a non-alcoholic cocktail bar. Isn't that kind of inherently oxymoronic? And I think in order to really get beyond this, we need to talk about what a cocktail is, because this is a word that gets thrown around and abbreviated and riffed on without everybody really having the same understanding of what a cocktail is. So if we're thinking about a cocktail in the traditional sense, a cocktail would be spirit, water, sugar, and bitters, and that is it. So the old-fashioned, the traditional old-fashioned, not our lovely Wisconsin old-fashioned, would be the definition of a cocktail. Well, obviously, if y'all have been to a cocktail bar of any sort within the last 10 years, we are all aware that we are far, far beyond this as a drink-making industry, that cocktails have evolved to be much more than a simple combination of spirit, water, sugar, and bitters. And so, I think, as an industry, as a group, we should reevaluate what it means to make a cocktail. A cocktail should simply be an intentional combination of 2 or more ingredients, where the ingredients come together to something that is better than the sum of their parts, right? And if we open this definition of what a cocktail is to more fully reflect what drink making is now in 2023, then we can start to understand how a non-alcoholic cocktail bar is not oxymoronic. How a non-alcoholic cocktail bar might just be the future of drinking as drinkers continue to drink more and more consciously. Now I want everybody to think about this, because this is not just about sober people. At The Counter, of course, we serve sober people. We serve Gold Star sober people, which, if you aren't familiar with the term, means that they have never consumed alcohol in their life. But the majority of our crowd are people who are simply drinking more consciously. Right? There are people who are deciding to take it off for a night, to take it a little bit easy, but they want to go out, but they don't want to get hung over the next morning. Or simply coming to us because they want a drinking experience that they don't believe is available elsewhere in the state. And regardless of whether or not it has alcohol, it doesn't really matter. So the audience for non-alcoholic is much, much, much bigger than simply people who have chosen to be sober. And we're seeing this in the market data. So as we kind of move through this presentation, I want you guys to just keep that in mind, that these are cocktails because they're intentional and they're combinations of more than 2 ingredients in a thoughtful way. And this segment is much bigger than the people who have chosen to be fully stone cold sober. This segment is relevant to everybody who owns a restaurant, a bar, a market, any sort of food or beverage service establishment. You need to be thinking about non-alcoholic. So who is this guy ranting about non-alcoholic cocktails? My name is Ryan Castelaz. I founded Discourse Coffee in 2017, and since then I've worked everywhere from Michelin star restaurants to beverage formulators, formulating products for some of the country's largest beverage companies. In between it, I'm recently putting out a book called The New Art of Coffee. We're having a book release at Boswell Books on April 4th, if you care to come. It's going to be a really, really fun event. And I'm host of a new segment on Fox 6 called On the Counter, where we're exploring every Tuesday at 10:25 a.m. a new non-alcoholic cocktail that you can make at home. So this has been a really, really fun adventure for us, and it's something that we're super, super, super excited to share with y'all. So what does the age of conscious drinking mean for us financially as business owners? This is where it gets a little bit exciting. So in 2022, sales of no and low alcohol beverages grew by more than 7% in volume across 10 key global markets and has now surpassed $11 billion a year in market value. This is no longer a small entity. Non-alcoholic is growing rapidly. In fact, alcohol is expected to grow at a CAGR, or compound annual growth rate, of just 2.5 to 3.5% over the next 5 years. Comparing that to the non-alcoholic segment, we're expecting growth of 7%. So for everybody thinking about growing either alcohol or non-alcohol in your food service establishment, in your retail model, non-alcoholic is going to grow faster. So this is really an important area for all of us to be thinking about, not only from a business perspective, but because this is where we are headed as a drinking culture. The people spearheading the interest in non-alcoholic are millennial and they're Gen Z. They're the people who are going to be patronizing our establishments over the next 10 to 15 to 20 years. And the people who are in now at the ground floor have the opportunity to be the next new Glarus. The one that everybody in the state of Wisconsin thinks about when they think about non-alcoholic. This is the opportunity that everybody standing right here, right now, has. And it's an incredibly exciting opportunity for the people who are ready to rise and take it. The majority of the non-alcoholic market segment right now is beer. It has about 65% of the non-alcoholic segment. Wine, about 25%, and non-alcoholic spirits between 9 and 10%. With that said, we've seen explosive growth in non-alcoholic spirits, including these bad boys up here from Lyre's, one of our favorite companies, and things like all the bitters. These guys are amazing. They're out of California. They make some of the best glycerin-based bitters I've ever had. Now that's a lot of background, so let's start talking a little bit about some drinks. We got Zoe here, who's gonna make one of the cocktails that we have on our menu at the counter. This one's rather complex, so we're gonna make one, and we're gonna give away one to some lucky human out in this audience. And we have some samples of a non-alcoholic Negroni in back that Katie will be passing out after the presentation to get a little bit of an idea of a simpler cocktail in the NA space. So Daedalus and Icarus is what Zoe is making right now. At the counter, we've based our menu off of myths and fables. So we have 9 non-alcoholic cocktails on our menu. Each one is based off of a different Greco-Roman myth or Aesop fable. This one based on the infamous myth of Daedalus and Icarus. Is anybody here familiar with this myth? Raise your hand if you know the myth of Daedalus and Icarus. Okay, we got a couple mythology nerds over here. Me too. So Daedalus and Icarus is a really awesome Greco-Roman myth of an inventor named Daedalus and his son Icarus. When they were banished to a little labyrinth on an island, Daedalus, as an inventor, decided to fashion wings for him and his son. When they flew up towards the sky, he told Icarus, do not fly too close to the sun. It'll melt the wax that holds the feathers on your wings and you'll plummet into the sea. Of course, Icarus, as a young dumb boy, did indeed fly too close to the sun and plummeted to his death in the sea. So we've recreated this myth in liquid form with this cocktail. What we've done is we've started with a non-alcoholic rum base. We've infused that base with gooseberries to give it a little bit of extra tropicality, blended it, and then strained it through a nut milk bake to clarify it. On top of that, we've added passion fruit juice, passion fruit vinegar, honey, lemon, and egg white to join everything together. And my favorite ingredient in this cocktail, we have reishi right here in Milwaukee. They're wild Thai tea. It's a black tea that we brewed with coconut water and then washed with beeswax. The exact same wax that Daedalus used to fashion Icarus's wings. Beeswax washing is a really cool process. We hold the liquid at 163 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 hours in an immersion circulator. We then take that liquid, toss it in the fridge. That beeswax hardens back up to the top. We strain it off, and we have this tea that is silky and honeyed and aromatic and wonderful. On top here, you're seeing we have a mango and tangerine sun that represents the sun that melted the wings. And finally, we have a white chocolate fondant feather to represent the feathers of the wings themselves. So what we've done throughout the entirety of our menu is taken very classic stories and translated them into things that you can see, feel, drink, smell, touch. This process of narrative transformation is something that we've been pioneering since opening discourse in 2017 and is a really fun style of drink making for us to tackle. Now these cocktails are obviously quite complex. There's about 12 ingredients going on in this baby to tell this story. And it can be a lot for an operational footprint of a smaller operation. So we wanted to show you guys what was possible in non-alcoholic drinking. And then we wanted to show you a little bit about how you can make it a little bit easier. So, the other cocktail we have today that Katie will be passing out to y'all, passing some out, is the No Grony. So, Have you ever had a Negroni? Raise your hand if you've had a Negroni. Couple people here. Awesome, 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 awesome. Negroni is an absolutely classic cocktail, born in Florence, Italy, when Count Camillo Negroni, a raggedy old count who had spent some time in the United States, ordered his normal drink an Americano being vermouth, gin, and soda water. That day he wanted something a little bit stronger, and so he had him fortify it. And when he fortified it and shrunk that build to just sweet vermouth, Campari, and gin, the Negroni was born. Now the Negroni has had an infamous history, now having an entire week dedicated to it, if anybody here has ever celebrated Negroni Week. We have several establishments in Milwaukee that offer specials, and it's one of my favorite cocktails. On the front, it's going to be a little bit fruity, a little bit sweet, almost like a bubblegum front. But on the back, you're going to get all of these bittering botanicals, this kind of bracing bittersweetness that I find it very difficult usually to replicate in the NA world. The reason we wanted to serve this one today is because I feel like there's an understanding in the world of NA cocktails that NA cocktails are always sweet or juicy. This is neither. This is bracing, it's balanced, it's a little bittersweet. And we're using only 5 products to make this today. We're using Lyre's Pink London Dry. It's their take on a Pink London gin. We're using Lyre's Aperitif Rosso. We're using a product from Abstinence called a Blood Orange Aperitif. And then we're using 2 bitters from All the Bitters. These guys are out in California. They make glycerin-based bitters. So if you're familiar, there's ethanol-based bitters, which is your most common, and there's glycerin-based bitters, which are entirely non-alcoholic, but quite often too sweet to actually be usable in a cocktail. These guys fix that problem. Actually bitter, glycerin-based bitters. Definitely grab a couple of these for your bar or your market. At the end here, all we do, we express a little bit of orange peel, which is the characteristic garnish of the Negroni, to kind of bring it all the way back to that cocktail leaning. Now, we are talking about building non-alcoholic offerings in general at a bar. So I want to just bring up some brands that you guys should be aware of who are really fighting for this space. In non-alcoholic beer, the head player is definitely Athletic Brewing. Athletic is an incredible brewing company. They have really pioneered this state of de-alcoholization. So what they do is they brew a traditional beer and then they de-alcoholize it. It's a much cleaner process than trying to create something non-alcoholic from the get-go. Untitled Art is another amazing brewery doing really, really fun things in the non-alcoholic space. Lagunitas with their hoppy refreshers, Weinstefano, even out in Germany people are doing this. And actually in Germany is the largest non-alcoholic market in the world. For wine, you have companies like Proxies or Lights or French Bloom. Spirits, we have Lyre's, Seedlip, who started it all, Ritual, Monday, Spiritless, Aplos, Amass, 3 Spirit, La Cevada. There are so many companies now in this market, and it makes it an incredibly exciting time to be here. So I know that's a lot. You know that's important. If you guys are looking for any sort of help, I have a little presentation here that I was going to show you all today, but we didn't have a screen. So if you guys are looking to have this presentation emailed to you with a little bit more information on the segment, just let us know. I'm more than happy to do that. And anything that we can do at the counter to help y'all kind of further non-alcoholic in our state, in our region, in our country, this is something that is incredibly beneficial for many, 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 many people. It goes far beyond the economic ramifications and comes to a social mission. We're creating a space for people that didn't have one before. And that I think is a really, really powerful thing. And it makes it an exciting time and field to be participating in. So thank you all for your time. Again, I'm Ryan from the counter. We welcome you to come by our bar any day, 3 to 9 p.m. over at Crossroads Collective. Thank you guys.